Good morning. It's about probably like noon. Today we're gonna have like a little bit of a different video. More of a, I don't know, I guess this is how I'm gonna do long form content from now on. Potentially just me with the wheel. You're probably not gonna be able to hear like any actual game audio because it's coming through my TV down there. And actually this mic does not pick up a lot of background noise, which is surprising. But I mean, I guess it is the whatever Shroud Logitech one. Um, but this is going to be just kind of about being homelessness, or just about being homeless, I guess. Um, so it is now, it just ticked over to be 2023, and in 2016, my great grandfather, essentially my father, passed away, and I was kicked out of the house that I was living in. No one, I was the only, yeah, the house was to be sold, and it was to be divided up amongst a bunch of people, and it was kind of like scam sold for like $100,000 under to the lawyer's friend, and just a whole bunch of BS, right? But essentially, the money didn't even come for like a year or so after I was kicked out of the house. So for about two and a half, like at least two and a half out of the last uh 6 years I've spent living just on the street. And I mean, I guess that's like an open interpretation thing. Is like living on the street. Like, was I in a cardboard box? Was I begging for money? Was I like, that was kind of nasty. Was I doing any like, you know, BS like that? No, I wasn't. Like, I wasn't doing anything like that. I was living in my car. I was working whatever crap job that I could muster. I have a essentially sixth grade education because the education system failed me, and well, I failed the education system. So there's that. So I have essentially no education, no friends. I have bipolar disorder, general anxiety disorder, uh, depression, severe depression. I lost my mom at like 8 years old. No father, just a deadbeat that I know his name that still exists with another family. And yeah, so just a bunch of different things. Like it wasn't really a by choice thing. Like I tried to get help a few times in South Carolina, and I was actually told essentially, to go die in a hole, or I would be told like, oh, sorry, application is just closed. You're gonna have to try again next year. Like I'd tell them like, hey, I'm living in my car. You know, I didn't really have anything, no family, no friend. Well, I had Andrew, but that wasn't exactly the best friend, and Chris, but Chris was stealing from me. So the other thing is, almost every single person I've ever met, at least in the last like 15 years, is all just tried to steal from me, take from me, get me, stitched up in some type of way. So people for me are just kind of like a big avoid sign because I've just learned that everyone's so self-motivated that nobody cares. And I look super normal, so nobody would ever be like, "Oh, dude, we shouldn't take advantage of that person. That person's not he's not well." But you can't see that. And yeah, I used to have well, I still have really bad anxiety, but I used to have such bad anxiety that this at least 10 or 20 times I had went to the Walmart. I used to live in Simpsonville, South Carolina, and I would go to the Walmart in Simpsonville from my house. I'd drive there, and if there were too many cars in the parking lot, I'd just go home. I was just like, I can't do it. There's too many people in there. And yeah, and I just would never change my clothes, and I would just, yeah, I've been severely depressed and sick for a very long time, and I just haven't been able to get any real help in any way. And to be completely honest, it's like I don't have time to to get help. I don't have time to get help, and I don't have mainly the money to get the help. So, like train wrecks, I got this thing where I think I get some free sessions, and I'm going to do it, and I'm very appreciative of it. But as far as that's literally like the first amount of like real help in any way that I've been given. Um, you know what I mean? Like nobody's ever like offered anything or been able to help me in any way. And like I've known, CEOs of companies, of Goodwill, different places. Nobody cares, man. Like even I just got off the street. I've I've been off the street like 2 weeks or something. I just came off like I think it's about 8 months. I think it would be 8 months ish to the day if I would have went until February 1st. So about 8 months just living on the street in my car. And again, I'm not like I don't beg for nothing. I never even got food stamps. No government assistance in any way. Every time I've tried to apply, it's just never came through. You know what I mean? Occasionally I'd be living in motels and stuff, and then you can't register your car for to a motel, and like they make life so difficult. Like if you don't have family or friends or anyone to depend on, I just want like they make life as difficult as it can be. Like it's just kind of it is what it is. But I lived in my car I lived in the Greenville Woodruff Road Walmart parking lot for about 18 months, like a solid 18 months. I think um I had showered at a place that wasn't the gym, and I had also slept somewhere that wasn't my car. Like I think I had slept at Andrew's house, because his dad eventually kind of like man didn't mind me sleeping there very occasionally, I think. You know what I mean? But the problem is Andrew likes to drink and Andrew likes to get crazy, and not me, Andrew, but the other Andrew. So like me, I don't know. Me being there wasn't the most helpful thing, I guess, even though I am kind of the voice of reason out of the two Andrews. So yeah, I had slept at his, on the floor at his house a couple of times, but pretty much for 18 months solid, I had lived in my car in a Walmart parking lot in Greenville, South Carolina, which was, about as hard as you can imagine. And every single day, I watched people beg for money with signs, and it's the South, so people are giving. And a lot of the homeless people that were there um, would get hotel rooms down the street and just do drugs and stuff at night. So it's kind of, just like, yeah. But I never begged for anything. Never, never stole anything. Never took anything. I missed a lot of meals. I used to be, well, I guess real quick. And then, I'm kind of feeling it. So we'll do first person. But I used to be, I probably don't look like big anymore, but and I'm wearing three layers of shirts. Got Naruto on, and then another shirt, and then a sweatshirt. But yeah, I used to be like 320, 330 pounds, like just massive. And the main reason that I'm not still massive is just can't really afford to eat. Like I'm a very picky eater, and I can't really afford to eat the way that I would like to eat. So I just kind of go without meals a lot. Like I've started over, and a lot of it's just the mental illness and not having a support system. So I kind of don't care in a lot of ways. But I've started over with nothing. I'm super dead. I started over with nothing 3 times now, and this is the third time. And being homeless in Ohio has to be one of the most miserable experiences I've ever had. Um, the people are just I don't really do first person very much, so I kind of got to practice here. Like I have like an hour of first person. I have like maybe an hour and a half of gameplay on Assetto in the last 8 months. Yeah, but yeah, it's been a super miserable experience. Uh, People up here are extremely nosy. I don't know if it's because I was like in the country versus like Greenville is a big city. Like I was always just a face in the crowd, even though, I'd always sleep in the Walmart parking lot in the same spot all the time. And, a lot of people knew me and seen me, but I never bothered nobody. And the people at the gym never harassed me or treated me weird in any way. And I'd see police all the time, sometimes nightly, but they'd never come up to me or bother me or do anything to me. They'd never even run my plate or do anything. There was a period where like at least 6 months where my registration was expired. There's like 6 months where I had no insurance, and I had no choice but to drive. Like you know what I mean? I'm living in my car. And, like the only way forward was for me to live in my car and then, you know, register it and get insurance and do all the things. Like I've had insurance every single day since the car was in my name, and the car wasn't in my name, and they wouldn't let me continue to insure it. So there's different periods of time where I've had, you know, not been completely lined up with the law in that regard. But the police down there never bothered me, like not a day. In 18 months, like consecutively, I never was harassed by the police. Occasionally I get like a homeless person like maybe ask me a question or two, or just like people come up to me, but never anything like, you know, harassment. Like never being harassed. Up here in the short 8 month period, um, I was harassed by police 4 or 5 different times. Woken up in the middle of the night, spotlighted with the lights on, asked stupid questions to try and incriminate myself. Uh, yeah, I was harassed by civilians who just are old and decrepit, and I don't know. People just don't mind their own business. Like to me, it's I never want to negatively affect someone that doesn't, you know, deserve it or that hasn't like wronged me in a way. Like I never want to like leave a negative impression on someone. Like my anger issues and things like that like may result in that, but it's never a thing where I'm attempting to, you know, do that, right? And it's just hard. I lost my point there. That's part of I don't know. Either the fact that I've been using my medication for I don't know 18 years almost consecutively with like a year and a half space between. Um, or I've had so many hits on the head that yeah, I can barely remember almost anything. Like I block out so much. I think a lot of it might even potentially just be like PTSD induced whatever, where you like you just block stuff out because I block so much stuff out. I've like, you know, just constant nightmares and stuff, which is part of the BPD and the mental illness. But like I say, up here in Ohio, um, I never bother him. I sit in my car, you know what I mean, and I watch like YouTube or you know maybe play games on my phone or something quietly. I'm not bothering nobody. I'm not doing anything, right? I never like harass anyone or do anything. I literally just mind my own business. And up here in Ohio, I've been harassed countless times. I've been like yelled at. The other thing too is like I've never had more like dirty looks from people than I have in Ohio. I don't even know why. Like I don't know why people give me like dirty looks all the time. Like I I I don't know, but people up here are just real nasty and mean. It sucks. Like this is Ohio is the worst place I could have been homeless. Like I almost froze to death. It was negative 35. Like it's just miserable. The other thing is like I say, like nobody cares that you're homeless and if you want to get into like a shelter program or anything like that, it's literally like, well, can you be here at that specific time? Can you, you know, can you do all these different things for us? And it's like, well, probably not. Like my life is kind of like, you know, everyone's life is different. Like the things that they have to go through on a daily basis are potentially different. You can't expect people to, you know, do the exact same thing as someone else. You know, but for the most part, it's just been a pretty miserable experience. I think I went to calling it intermittently homeless because I didn't really have a better name for it. I think another one would be like chronically homeless, but I don't. I'd have to look up the word for that. I think is like repeating or something. I don't know. But I went with like just intermittently homeless because I just am kind of homeless off and on based on how my mental health's doing, and then yeah, kind of hoping don't lose my job in the recession soon. I'd love for a horrible recession. I want everything to crash so that I can buy a house next year and people will be getting rid of their like 3080 Ti's and stuff for like 400 bucks because they can't pay their utilities. Which again, I know that sounds horrible, especially because um, you know, I'm worried about losing my job and I'm worried about things getting hard for me, but you have to be strong. Like even if I lose my job, I think I'm just gonna find another job. I'll figure something out. Like I'm willing to move across the country, willing to do whatever I have to do, wherever I have to do it. I just got this apartment though, and I haven't even been here a month. So I'd prefer if I didn't lose my job and I could just kind of sit here, because the goal now, after everything and after so many years of not even being able to afford the 33%, to have rent, like 450 for me wasn't even 33% for quite a long time, and I could never find anything for like 450, 500 down in South Carolina. So there was just nothing I could really do. Even up here, it's pretty similar circumstances. Like I'm paying 650 for rent now, which is a lot for where I'm at. And the only reason I picked to stay here was because I work down the street and I can just walk to work. But if we all get laid off, that's not really a thing anymore. So I just don't know exactly what I'm gonna do anymore. But I don't want to go back on the street because you just get treated like crap. I'm not like I guess I am technically, I I don't know how you describe a drug addict. I don't know. Isn't that like a physical dependence on something? And if the answer to that, like, I don't know, is is me using something so I don't have dreams or so I don't remember dreams, um, a physical dependence on it? I'm unsure. Is like feeling like I need it to not have um, like anger outbursts or other just general outbursts or just um, potentially like I'm very emotional. Like it's never the good emotions. I'm never like super happy, so beyond happy. Like that's not really me. Never super happy, I guess. That's pretty rare for me. Especially things have just been really bad since basically since I can form memories. I've been having traumatic things happen to me for pretty much my entire life, and so I'm just so used to it that I, I don't know. But when I go to sleep, I have new nightmares of things I've never done, places I've never been. So it's just terrible. So in that sense, I prefer to use my medication. And when I say medication, I have a medical card. You know what I mean? This is a medical state. I have a medical card, and I've been using that, medication since I was 12, I guess, just to deal with, all the things that you can assume would happen to someone. Like at like 13 or 14, I lost my great grandma, and then I lost my two best friends, and I had to move, you know, to South Carolina, and I had no friends anymore, and yeah. This is after I lost my mom, after I had been like, molested, uh, after a lot of things. You know what I mean? There's like a lot of like horrible things have happened in my life. So, but yeah, being homeless is pretty miserable, and trying to be like completely self-sufficient and not dependent on anyone in any way when you make like barely over $1,000 and you still have to pay all the things that you imagine someone would pay. Like I use more gas than, most people, I guess, unless someone's commuting a lot. That was a pretty normal thing for me to have to use just more gasoline than the average person. Um, I can't afford insurance. I never can afford insurance. I've had insurance, I think, for 1 year out of uh, since I was like 16. I think I've had insurance for 1 year. I'm now 30. So yeah, not really, not really in the best of medical care. All my teeth are falling out. Lots of different horrible issues with me. It's just one of those things where it's like, well, you can't afford like the basic things. Like you definitely can't afford insurance or medical care. It's just one of those things that gets skipped, or like proper nutrition, or just lots of different things that you kind of have to just be like, yeah. Like I have Cricket for a phone company. Like I don't really see it as too janky of a phone company or anything. It's like one of the cheapest options for unlimited everything. I've had the same plan, the same phone, like since I, started living, or same phone company since I started like living on the street. But like certain companies treat that like a prepaid ghetto phone, even though I like auto pay it every single month. So it's like I have to have a cheap phone. I can't have like a Verizon or like a whatever an AT&T one, because it's too expensive. It doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? It's just you have to cut every corner everywhere you can. Like everything I that sucks. I fell off. Everything I own comes from the thrift store. Like pretty much everything I own is secondhand. Like this computer is uh secondhand. This monitor is essentially secondhand. TV secondhand. Shoes are secondhand. The case you're sitting on secondhand. Like most everything I own comes from the thrift store, or I can't afford to buy it. So yeah, it's just it's super rough, man. Like I wish there was a better way to describe it. I I wouldn't want to be like a female living on the street. I think that'd be a little rough. I've had, mm, I don't know if I'd say, I've had probably 10 to 20 different times where someone has just like ran up on me. Like at least someone has just like ran up on me, potentially middle of the night or just whenever. And you just kind of got to be ready. Like nobody's ever tried me or done anything, but I'm, I'm quite a big guy. So it's like I probably would be the first person that you would try in the parking lot. So, but you have to be ready for that, and you also have to keep in mind like nobody cares about you. Like, and I mean that in every sense of it. I mean like your boss at work does not care about you. Your I would say something. Okay, that's not a thing. I was gonna say your pastor, but he potentially does care about you because people care about the religion, but he potentially also doesn't care about you. You know what I mean? Like some of your friends potentially don't really care about you. Like the only people that care about you are your family. And so if you don't have any family, like nobody cares how rough things might be for you or what your struggle might be. They kind of just want to either completely avoid you or take advantage of you in some form or fashion. So I was trying to run that line kind of tight. Yeah. So it's just kind of it's kind of an irrelevant thing to the point where like someone could have $1 million. Like you shouldn't give homeless people money, and the main reason you shouldn't give most homeless people money is because most homeless people are like terrible drug addicts that will choose to buy drugs instead of like eating food or taking care of himself or something like that, which has never been a thing for me because having, so many people die in your life early on from drugs is kind of a quick indicator to be like, ooh, all right, well, I'm just not gonna try pretty much any of these things, even when they're offered to me for free. I'm just like, you gotta really kind of think about it and think like, is this worth it? You have a highly addictive personality. Is it worth it for you to put that risk out there? Because a lot of things are hereditary. I have a lot of my mom's like mental illness things, and it's bad. Like growing up, seeing like your mother rip her hair out and punch holes in the wall. Wouldn't you be surprised when you grow up punching yourself in the face and ripping holes in the wall? That's not something I do anymore. I've kind of chilled myself out. Occasionally I'll like punch my PC or smash a controller, but that's about it. And I'd say it's been a little bit, but I definitely punched my PC off of the stand playing Ascension WoW not that long. Well, I guess whenever I was living in my apartment still. That was such a terrible attempt at a 360. But yeah, I just wanted to make this video. Like, I'm not your typical homeless person, as you can probably see. Like, I dress nicely. I wear expensive clothes. Everything I have for the most part is nice. I guess willing to wait for things or hunt for things that make sense. Like my computer, like I said, it's Dell Optiplex. It's got a 570 in it. I got it right around, like right after COVID started. I got it like 6 months after COVID. Like I think right after COVID checks went out, like a few months after that, and you couldn't buy literally anything. I was working at Goodwill, living in a really crap hole motel at the time, and I got this computer. It was like on Craigslist, pretty close to me, and it was like an IT company, and they were just like, yeah, we just kind of build things. Like when I went in, I asked them like, so what's the catch here? Like, or what's I don't think I said it exactly like that, but I was kind of curious, like, what is the catch here that you're selling me, this entire computer for uh like 290 bucks. It was like a monitor, a computer. He even gave me like a Wi-Fi card adapter because I didn't have one, which saved me money. Like, yeah. And he sold me all this stuff for like, I think it was like 270 bucks or something because I found it on, I think, a Craigslist ad. And I've been using that same computer for like 3 years now. I upgraded the RAM, but that's pretty much the only thing that I've even done to it. I still even have the monitor that they gave me with it. Like they gave me like a crappy Dell, like mouse and keyboard and stuff, but I had some of that stuff. I'll stop spinning out. You know, it's just like everything I have, even though it's almost always secondhand or whatever, it's it's usually pretty nice because I have a pretty fine eye for detail and just nice things in general. Unless I'm rushed into something, like if I get rushed into something, it's kind of I end up with what I end up with. It's just kind of how I feel about certain things in my life currently. But I'd like to upgrade the sim setup. I'd like to get a new SUV. I'd like to get not a new SUV, but I'd like to get like a new to me used SUV instead of my sedan that I've had. I've had the same car for I was 19 years old now. It's my grandpa's car. Got it at the dealership. Yeah. Sorry, I'm like not super on track. I'm kind of just like going over mental illness and just general homelessness and somewhat of my story. I'm doing such a bad job at drifting now. Alright, I'm gonna go out here and rip it. But I've seen a lot of people um, out here, and for the most part, living out here, nobody appears to be living in their car. There's like a handful of people. It's just too cold. You can't really live in your vehicle reliably without potentially freezing to death. That's something that's very concerning. Is freezing to death, or, you know, someone can see you while you're sleeping. They can potentially just shoot you or do anything. Like, there's a lot of sick individuals out there, you know what I mean? There's a lot of just weird people. And, like, when you're homeless or when things happen, when you're homeless or just when you're, like, poor in general, it's like nobody gives a shit. Yeah, nobody cares what happens to you. You know what I mean? Like pretty much police included. It's like you're not very important when it comes to something happening. Like I had on my birthday at one point, I had someone back into my car, and then I found the person later on, and I called the police, and the police came and everything, and they didn't want to do anything about it. And they're like, "Oh yeah, this isn't like a real plate or something like that." And then I found the guy later on, and I told them about it, and they still didn't want to do anything about it. Just some old guy who, I don't know, had been drinking and just backing into my car and ran off. it's just like nobody cares what happens to you. You kind of just have to like take care of yourself. That's why I don't depend on the government or just anyone to help me or do literally anything for me. I just want to get like my own house, and then I don't have to really worry as much about having a place to live because it, it's less about oh, my neck hurts. As you would imagine, my back and my neck from living in my car for so long are completely destroyed. I mean, that's part of it, and just lifting injuries and stuff. No. Mm. I almost feel like this is so terrible that I'm just gonna redo it again. So let's see what this looks like. I think I'm gonna redo it. I don't like this. I rambled too much.